Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. Happy, what's today? Tuesday. So it's the night before Christmas Eve here. Tomorrow we're obviously going to be off. Thursday we're going to be off, and Friday we'll probably get back in the swing of things. But I got some good news stories for you guys. Well, maybe some good news. We'll see how things play out. But I think Bitcoin's about getting ready to rally here. We'll look at some things, some data on it as well. And I think the miners, Cipher, IREN, Cleanspark, Bitfarms, HUT, all those guys will have a pretty good year in 2026 as well. We'll talk about that here, give you my thoughts on it as well. And we have also news on Cipher. Cipher got a new site in Ohio here, which is actually pretty exciting. That's the first site outside of Texas. That does bring up their total megawatts that they can possibly develop here going forward as well. We'll talk about that. We'll get into Q&A. We'll see how the miners did today, which they didn't do that well. Neither did Bitcoin here, but we'll get through it all. As always, not financial advice for anyone only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out. And that's all I ask of you guys, right? Okay, let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin, Bitcoin miners, and everything else. All right, so here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin today was down a little bit. Wasn't down too bad, but it was still down about 1.27% there. We're down on a new day. So we can probably kiss the Santa rally goodbye unless we get a nice rally tomorrow here. I think, based on just my little chart squiggle here, as Mike Alford likes to say, I think we've been obviously in a downward spiral here at Bitcoin here and this kind of wedge here. I mean, if this works out, right from the bottom here to kind of the bottom here, it looks like we might be getting out of this wedge here right around the 2nd of January. So basically the second day of the new year. Markets are going to be closed on January 1st overall. And after that, I think we might rally. So there's that one point that's kind of making me think that we might rally here in Bitcoin going forward. And in the meantime, we're going to kind of bounce in between these two lines here, the bottom line and the top line here, maybe bounce up between it. We might be bounce above it faster, but I think by the latest, we should probably start bouncing right around January 2nd. Okay, that's kind of just my thoughts on it right now. That could change if Bitcoin has a huge drawdown on it or something like that. Might extend it out or something like that. But right now, that's kind of the way it looks like it might play out here. Markets overall today did pretty good today. They were up for the most part, except for Russell. Russell was down just a little bit, 0.59% there. Ethereum was down also today on that one. And we'll continue this talk on Bitcoin and why it could possibly be getting ready to rally here when we get into the news section in a couple of minutes here. Okay, miners, like I said, for the most part, they were down. Bitfarms was down 1.49% there. It got rejected from the 100 simple day moving average. BitDeer was up a little bit, 0.27. That thing is still way below all of the SMAs. Kango was down 8.22% there after having a pretty good day on Friday, it looks like. And then it's basically given up all those gains. Since then, Cipher was down 2.63%. Even though they came out with pretty good news, it was up a little bit in the day-to-day before going back down. Cleanspark was down 4.88%. That one's kind of hovering right around the 200 SMA right now. We'll see if we can bounce off of that. CORZ was down 1.96%. Hive was down 3.08%. That one's also kind of bouncing on the 200 SMA. HUT 8 was up 4.13%. It is getting close to a new all-time high on that one. We're about the previous high was $57, so we're approximately $5 off from that right now. IREN was up just a teeny weeny bit. It was up just 0.07% there. And that is battling with the 100 SMA on that one. Mara was down 2.67%. Riot was down 5.07%. Wolf was down just a little bit, 0.4%. The holding companies for Bitcoin, for the most part, we're in the red here. Phoenix was up today, 6.67%. Again, it seems to be like in this range here for some reason. Semler was down 5.8%. That was one of the biggest losers here on the day. Small companies, small miners. Argo was down 12.83%. That one definitely got hit even more here. ANY was also down 6.37% there. That's the lowest it's been since, this is going well, it's never been this low before, it looks like. If we go all the way back on the chart, it's like the lowest it's been here ever, even though we came pretty close to that back in April 2025 here. But Argo was down 12.83%. This one obviously did a reverse split on it, and based on that, it's still at the lowest level it's pretty much ever been. We'll see if that one can survive or not. I doubt it. Same thing for ANY there. DigiHi was down a little bit. DMG was down also. Mawson was down a little bit. Canon was down 5.6. The Bitcoin ETF miners there, were in the red also today for the most part, 1 to 2% or so. Ethereum holding companies were also in the red, about 4%, 3% on average. Other companies that we take a look at here, see, American Bitcoin was down 4.62%. Wi-Fi was down 3.7% there. Probably should zoom this in so you guys can see that. Open was down 2.34%. Oracle was even down 1.53%. Nibius was down also 3.43%. So everything was kind of down today for the most part. Bakkt was down 2.18%. Fermi was down 7.09% there. But the big guys were up. Meta was up 0.52%. Google was up 1.4% there. Amazon was up 1.62%. Microsoft was up 0.4%. And Nvidia was up 3% overall. As far as the miners here after hours right now, if we take a look at those guys, see where they are on things. We got Bitter being up a little bit, 0.44%. Bitfarms here is down 0.38%. Kango right now is flat. Cipher is up a little bit, 0.5%, 0.61% there. Cleanspark is up 0.61%. CORZ, let's see where that one comes in at. CORZ up 0.13%. Hive right now is flat, it looks like. And then we got Hut 8 here being up 0.44%. IREN also being up a little bit, 0.07%. And Mara Holdings being down 0.2%. Riot being down up 0.37%. And last but not least, TerraWolf, as always, is right now down 0.16%. Okay, looking at the things that we want to take a look at here. Bitcoin right now for the month of December is, let's see, where does it come in at? Boy, that always takes me way down there. It's down 3.62%. We still have a couple more days to go. We'll see if we can get a green day out of that one. Bitcoin ETF inflows overall. For the day here, we had only 31 million negative inflows. So outflows, basically. We don't know where BlackRock comes in at that point. The Fed rate tool here, we're down to like 13%. I think last I checked it, 14.4%. Possibility of us getting a rate cut here in January. We'll see if this changes over time. We did have some good news on GDP data for Q3 as well. I don't know if that's poking the market there or not. Let's see your Bitcoin network hash rate right now as it is. This is on the 7-day average, I believe, that we're on. If we look at the 30-day average, we've been coming down on that as well, as Bitcoin price has been hovering around between 85 and 90,000. We're at right now about 1.05 zettahash as it is. So that has been coming down overall. That's based on Bitcoin price being down, right? So anything that's unprofitable right now is getting unplugged. And that's kind of what we would expect here on that one. Let's see here. Some of the news stories that we do have here. So on-chain insight, capitulation often signals major bottoms for Bitcoin. When short-term holders hit max losses and panic sells peak, weak hands are flushed out and supply pressure eases. This creates a favorable environment for accumulation by strong hands, often preceding significant rallies. And if we look at this chart here, we can see it. You can see on the orange kind of yellowish chart here. Those are the peaks in capitulation oscillator. And we can see here on the price of Bitcoin as well, at that point we rallied here. So we can see that over here and over here, we kind of rallied a little bit there. And then we finally did rally here in 2023. And we are at the same spot here, more or less, with the capitulation, as the Bitcoin price has obviously come way down here from where we were at 126, 127,000 overall. So that's another thing that's kind of pointing to me to think that we might be getting ready to rally in Bitcoin price going up much higher in 2026 here. Whether it's going to be the first half or the second half, I'm not sure, but we are getting ready to rally there. This also, this is from Ash Crypto here. Breaking S&P just gave its highly daily close ever in history. It's now just 11 points away from the new all-time high. Please, Bitcoin, do something. Right, we're seeing the S&P 500 index going up. And what have we seen with Bitcoin? Bitcoin goes up, it comes down, it goes up, and it's been going down here. While other things, S&P, NASDAQ, other markets are going up. Gold, even silver is going up here to new all-time highs. While Bitcoin is kind of lingering here with massive manipulation happening in that sector, at least, I think. But eventually, I think that's going to turn for us. I think some people are going to be getting out of gold, also out of silver, maybe some stocks, and going into Bitcoin here. But in the meantime, it's not fun. It's painful. All right, we've been through this before, though. Next here, we can see there's a rare signal popping up on Bitcoin right now as it is. The MACD golden cross on the 3D time frame. Why is this rare? Because the last time we saw this was during the major bottom back in April. Are you ready? So there's another one. That's another sign that kind of makes me think that we might be getting ready to rally here. You can see the golden cross here on the chart. This was back in April. At that point, we rallied up higher here. We are getting close to get that cross again happening here, at which point we may definitely rally at that point also. So a couple of things that are kind of lining up for us to believe, at least for me to believe, that we might be getting close to starting a rally in Bitcoin, which would be very nice because it's definitely overdue here on it. But I'm still thinking maybe it's going to take us another week or so to get there, as we have a couple more days left in December. And like the little wedge chart squiggle showed us, we might be somewhere around December 2nd when things rally for us, right? So that still wouldn't be too bad. Okay, so that's good news there. Next here, this is from the Kobesi letter. Current situation, US GDP growth at its strongest pace since 2023. CPI inflation unexpectedly fell to 2.7 last month. Trump is appointing a new Fed chair who will cut rates. Oil prices are down to their lowest level since 2021. Equity ETFs have attracted a record of 1.4 trillion in 2025. The number 6, the Magnificent 7 AI investment is now above 600 billion per year. How can you fight this momentum? Eventually things will pop, right? You can't fight it for that long. The manipulation is real in the sector, whether it's, the Bitcoin AI miners, or I call them the BTC AI miners. Whether it's in those guys have been beaten down 40, 50, 67, not 70%, but 60% from their tops here recently. Bitcoin has obviously been beaten down from its top as well. It's down 36% at the peak there. And all of this stuff is just, eventually that whole thing is going to rotate back in favor of Bitcoin, AI, all that stuff is going to happen here. And I think it's going to be happening in 2026 here. Could be very, very early on too. We won't know until we get through it. But this all boasts very, very well for us here going forward here. It's just, you got to be patient. Hopefully you have some cash on the side, possibly buy in at lower levels like we are right now. Okay, next here, this is from, looks like Cantor Fitzgerald, I believe. IREN is a long-term gold mine. This is from Big DGen there. IREN stock could soar nearly 500% by 2028 on Microsoft AI deal, says Cantor. Cantor Fitzgerald's Brett Knob, I can't pronounce his last name, so I do apologize there, thinks IREN could be a 384 stock in 3 years. That would be massive, right? So we're talking about, at that point, would they have all 2+ gigawatts used up for AI? If they did, then yeah, it could definitely be right around there, maybe even higher at that point. But that's just one person that's thinking that. You also obviously have our friend there, Mike Alfred, also pointing that out, that he thinks in the next 12 to 18 months, you could see Cipher at $60 to $80, and you could possibly see IREN between $150 to $200 in the next 12 to 18 months. So you're seeing a lot of this bullish momentum here happening in the space. Obviously, Mike Alfred is also on IREN board there, but he has been right for the most part on the price action here happening in Cipher and IREN as well. And yeah, I mean, I kind of see the same thing happening here. As they continue to execute on their megawatts and get contracts for that, that should have a significant impact on the stock price going forward as well. And there's still a huge demand for all that happening here. So, I mean, if it gets to $150 to $200, I'm going to be a happy camper. That's going to be 7 figures of profit for me at that point. I will take that to the bank any day. Now, if I have to hold it for 12 to 18 months, so be it, right? I'll buy the dips on it if it dips even more. But other than that, I still plan on holding, as you guys know, I've been kind of like a long-term investor in a lot of these companies. Cipher, IREN, Cleanspark, Bitfarms as well. I've been holding on to these guys for a couple of years now and buying the dips on them. So this is kind of working out pretty well. And if we can get to those levels, it's going to be a really, really good Christmas one of these years for me and for my family there, and hopefully for you guys as well. So I'm happy about that. And this is what keeps me going here, day in and day out, looking at this data for myself and also for you guys. All right, lastly but not least here, Cipher announces acquisition of a 200 megawatt site in Ohio here. So today they announced the acquisition of a 200 megawatt site in Ohio called Ulysses. Can't pronounce that doggone word. Ulysses, I think is the way it's pronounced. The transaction includes 195 acres of land and secured capacity from AEP Ohio. All utility agreements required to support the development of the site are in place, and the site is on track to energize in the fourth quarter of 2027. So that's a ways out, right? That's basically 2 years out right now as it is. but they're just continuing to buy up these sites that are going to be developed in the not too distant future, right? 2 years isn't too far out. When we start talking about a little bit further out, we're talking about maybe 5 years plus, but 2 years isn't too bad. So that bodes well. Let's see here. When energized, the site will give Cipher direct access to PJM, the nation's largest wholesale electricity market. The site is well suited for HPC, excuse me, given its acreage, energization timeline, availability of diverse fiber paths, and proximity to major metropolitan areas. And if they can't use it for HPC-AI, they can use it for Bitcoin mining. So they have a double-edged sword there they can deploy. Let's see here. Hyperscalers are driving unprecedented demand for large-scale sites, said Tyler Page, CEO of Cipher. Leveraging our proven sourcing capabilities, Cipher is continuing to seize the opportunity to shape the future of high-performance computing infrastructure. This new site is a new power market, gives us additional capacity to continue expanding our HPC hosting business while broadening our geographic footprint, which is true and true. The Ulysses, I can't pronounce that word for some reason. I'm having a tongue twister on this one. Ulysses site marks Cipher's first acquisition outside of Texas, demonstrating the company's ability to source high-quality opportunities nationwide and its ongoing commitment to expanding and diversifying its development pipeline. With the addition of this site, Cipher's development pipeline now totals 3.4 gigawatts across 8 sites. So that's fantastic news there. Congrats on the Cipher team for getting this. And it's going to bode well. Right, they're only right now developing like several hundred megawatts of AI data centers right now. So if you think about what the potential there is for an additional, whatever it's going to be, 3 gigawatts or so, that's huge. The amount of revenue that they're going to be generating is tremendous, and that should help out the stock as long as they don't dilute too much, which I don't think they will. But that should bode well in the next couple of years here. So like we talked about in the past, some of these guys might be a longer-term hodl. IREN, Cipher, possibly CleanSpark as well, maybe Bitfarms there, and others, Hut 8, who else? TerraWolf, all of those guys that are in there in the space getting into HPC-AI, those might be longer-term hodls as they build out their megawatts that's on their development plan. So we'll have to keep an eye on how they progress going forward, what kind of deals they get going forward. All of that stuff is going to be important to let us know whether or not there is one, I think if we see less capital deals or less revenue deals, that might be a little sign there that maybe the AI space is getting saturated a little bit. Until then, we're definitely seeing better deals happening here as time progresses, and I think that's going to continue on here as time progresses, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, good for us, but unfortunately that I had to say time progresses twice. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you. Tomorrow is like we talked about. Tomorrow's going to be Wednesday. We have, I think the market's open tomorrow. There might be a shorter day for tomorrow with being a Christmas Eve. And then Thursday obviously being Christmas Day. Friday I'll be back in the swing of things. So we'll cover whatever happens at that point. But right now we're going to get into Q&A. And I'll bid you guys a farewell at the end of this. Well, at least until Friday. Okay. So let's get into Q&A, see what you guys have to say, thoughts, questions. There's not much there, which I kind of thought was going to be the case here with people traveling for the holidays, going to see family and everything else. So for those of you that did join in, greatly appreciate you guys spending the time to come in here. But let's get into it here. So Momo says, hi Seb, when will CleanSpark, Riot, and Mara start to rally? I'm desperate. Any kind of announcements that they get on AI, which I think right now is basically CleanSpark and Riot. Mara is dabbling in that, but we haven't heard anything concrete there. But once they start having some kind of deals, I think that's going to propel them up higher. And also if the market just generally changes around, Bitcoin going up, the sentiment around AI stocks and data centers changes, which I think it will change as well in the new year here. That's going to help those guys also, because we've seen these guys run quite nicely here. What was it, about 12 weeks ago or something like that, when they peaked more or less, and they were just running on AI potential, right? So I think the same thing's going to happen here. They had a huge rally in that, came back down. We got back down to reality a little bit, and I think it's going to be pushed back up here for big dogs to make their money again. So we'll definitely see that happening here. All right, Shinshi question here. Hello, so Merry Xmas. Thank you. Same to you, and Happy New Year. Same to you and your family as well. Can you please tell me how much more profitable is AI HPC as compared to Bitcoin mining for IREN stock and in general for other stocks? All right. So profitability wise, it is more profitable per megawatt than what Bitcoin is currently, or has been historically for Bitcoin at least, right? They're getting more for the megawatts than they are from Bitcoin mining. There is a cost associated though, right? The cost is to build out the data centers, which is obviously costly. We're talking about somewhere between 8 to 12 million per megawatt, compared to building out for Bitcoin mining is, depending what you do, you can be somewhere between 300 and like 750,000 per megawatt. So there's a huge difference between that. But the good news is once they build out those data centers and they pay them off within a number of years, those data centers are going to be there for 30, 50 years plus maybe at that point, with some minor modifications happening from time to time. But that big cost is basically priced in at that point. So the cost, I don't know exactly what their difference in cost or the revenues are, but we can see that IREN is looking to be at 3.5 billion in annual run rate next year by the end of the year. Whereas right now they are, I think they peaked close to 1 billion in Bitcoin run rate, but that's been coming down with Bitcoin price happening here. So you can see that the revenue there is going to be basically almost 3.5x roughly of what Bitcoin revenue is generating, a much lower footprint in megawatts compared to Bitcoin. Okay, so that's kind of the way I would look at it at that point. Let's see, Rob. Rob says, DCA everyone, that will give you lots of shares to 10x. Okay, so you're kind of the same way I'm thinking on it. Sebs, what state do you think a deal will be struck sooner for Bitfarms? In what state? They're building out right now their Washington site, right? For next year, they're planning to have that done by the end of 2026. I would think that might be the site that gets a deal first. They do have Panther Creek and Scrubgrass in Pennsylvania. Those two sites, we could get a surprise on those as well. That somebody's interested in those megawatts there. Hard to tell though right now. Okay. Let's see. Mamawi, hi Seb, do you think Bitcoin will reach a new all-time high next quarter or just bounce to 100,000? I think it's possible. Bitcoin has historically, at least this cycle, taken longer to get to new all-time highs. So we're talking about 3 to 4 months. So that might be in that time frame where it could possibly reach a new all-time high again at that point. Definitely would love to see it. Let's see, Rob says, the smartest man in the world says January 3rd week will be its all-time high, but I forgot what the all-time high he said will be. You're talking about is it the Japanese gentleman there that's like the smartest man in the world? I think he said it was like going to be like 270,000 or something like that, which I don't see that happening, but I saw the same thing there as well. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'll be happy if we get to 130, 135, maybe 150 sometime by the end of the first quarter, maybe even into second quarter. I'll be happy with that. That'll be just fine with me. And then also, as long as the AI stocks do well here going forward, we're obviously going to see more spending by the big guys, Google, Meta, Amazon as well, going into 2026. So that should bode well for them going forward as well. All right, but that's it. That's all I got for you guys here. So really appreciate you all for coming in on this late evening, especially before Christmas Eve tomorrow and then Christmas Day on Thursday. I hope you guys, if you guys are traveling, I hope guys and gals, if you guys are traveling at any point, hope you guys are safe, right? Safe travels there. Hopefully you guys can spend some great time with your families, enjoy it. Whatever happens in Bitcoin and the AI is going to be there. It's not going away. I don't think we're going to get any kind of a crash here happening tomorrow, so don't worry about that. Spend the time with the family, enjoy it. I'm going to definitely do that. It's been a rough couple weeks here. It's going to be nice to have just time with family, talk about anything and everything, but enjoy it, okay? Touch some grass, I guess. Get away from the screen a little bit as well. Refresh our minds a little bit, refresh our souls as well at that point. But that's it. So Merry Christmas to those that are celebrating Merry Christmas and any other holidays you guys are celebrating out there. Happy holidays to you all. Wish you all the best. Again, safe travels. Love you all. I'll see you guys here back on Friday at that point. All right. Until then, I'll see you then. Bye.